The agent didn't say it like news. She said it like weather. Your ticket was canceled this morning. She angled the screen away, a habit more than a rule, and I understood immediately that whatever explanation existed would be framed as something already over. Her voice was neutral, practiced to the point of kindness. I nodded, because nodding is what you do when something final arrives without warning. The line behind me shifted. A suitcase rolled into my heel. I looked past her to the gate. My family was already boarding. The choreography was familiar, passports out, shoulders angled forward, a collective impatience that looks like purpose if you squint. My sister laughed at something I couldn't hear. My mother adjusted the strap of her bag. My father kept his eyes on the scanner, as if the machine might change its mind if he looked away. No one turned around. There are moments when anger would be appropriate, even expected, and yet nothing rose. What I felt was a narrowing. The world condensed to small decisions: step aside, don't block the line, don't ask the agent to repeat herself. I thanked her. I picked up my bag. I stood by the window where departures become geometry. They boarded in groups. I watched the numbers tick down, the gate agent's voice lifting and falling. It was strange how abandonment could look like efficiency. We had rehearsed this in smaller ways for years: missed calls, plans changed without notice, conversations that ended the moment I became inconvenient. This was just the largest version of something already practiced. When the doors closed, the glass reflected my face back at me. I didn't look dramatic. I looked organized. That felt important. I left the airport without ceremony. The ride-share driver didn't ask questions. The city at night was competent and indifferent, which I appreciated. At a borrowed apartment, I set my bag down, plugged my phone in, and sat on the edge of the bed without turning on the light. I opened a new message thread and typed, deleted, typed again. The words needed to be accurate, not sharp. I didn't want to threaten. I wanted to prepare. Precision matters when you plan to live with yourself afterward. You should be ready for what happens next. I read it aloud once quietly to hear if it sounded like someone else. It didn't. I sent it. The leverage wasn't new. That's the part people get wrong. They imagine revenge as something invented in the heat of a moment. This wasn't that. This was infrastructure, forms signed years ago because I was the reliable one, the one who showed up early and stayed late, the one trusted with details because I didn't dramatize them. I had handled the unglamorous work of compliance and continuity, kept copies where they belonged, renewed things on time. It never felt like power. It felt like responsibility. I slept. When they landed, I was awake. Not because I expected anything, but because my body had decided sleep was optional now. My phone began to vibrate in shallow, urgent bursts, missed calls, voicemails that started with confusion and moved quickly toward fear. Messages that overlapped, contradicted each other, asked me to explain a situation I hadn't caused. I didn't listen to the voicemails right away. I made coffee. I sat at the small table and waited for the system to do what systems do when something is out of order. Authority arrived without spectacle. It always does. There is no thunder. There is a desk, a badge, a form slid across a counter with a pen tethered by a chain. There is a voice trained to be clear rather than kind. A compliance check had flagged an inconsistency. A missing authorization. A required presence that wasn't present. The words were dry. The consequence was not. Their panic came to me secondhand, filtered through text. Airports have a way of amplifying fear. Everything echoes. They wrote in fragments. They asked if this was a mistake. They asked if I could fix it. They asked why no one would tell them anything yet. I listened to one voicemail. My mother's voice was high, controlled to the point of fracture. "We're just trying to understand," she said, which had always meant explain yourself until we're comfortable again. I typed a response and erased it, then another. I didn't want to teach a lesson. I wanted to establish a boundary so clear it would not need repeating. When I finally wrote back, it was a paragraph. It named the process. It stated what was required. It did not accuse. It did not apologize. It ended with a sentence that felt almost gentle: "I will cooperate once the proper steps are taken." There was a pause after that, a silence heavy enough to be respectful. Then the calls resumed, fewer now, more careful. Somewhere between the third and fourth message, I imagined them standing at a counter, voices lowered, learning what it feels like to be on the other side of procedure. Not punished, contained. Hours passed. The sun moved across the table. I went for a walk. When I returned, there was a single message from my father. It was short. It asked for terms. I answered with conditions that would have sounded obvious a day earlier. Inclusion, notice, consent. Not dramatic demands, basic ones written plainly. I didn't frame them as ultimatums. I framed them as requirements. They agreed. Of course they did. Authority has a way of clarifying priorities. When it was over, there was no satisfaction spike, no sense of triumph. What I felt was steadiness. A quiet settling, like a shelf finally bearing weight evenly. The relationship didn't heal, it changed shape. Some warmth drained out, replaced by something firmer and less forgiving. I missed the old ease even as I acknowledged it had been uneven. That night, I turned my phone face down. I lay in the dark and let the day arrange itself in memory without commentary. Being left behind had taught me something I hadn't wanted to learn, that dignity doesn't require witnesses. It requires timing, restraint, and the willingness to let systems speak when people won't. In the morning, I booked my own ticket.